This Tuesday, January 23rd, NBA Betting Picks edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. We're also brought to you by Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's US-based and available in 40 states. Head to cut.com, that's KUTT.com, and use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. And we're also brought to you by the SGPN merch store, 15% off of everything when you use promo code PLAYOFFS. Welcome, everyone, to the NBA Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Tuesday, January 23rd, currently 11:05 on the East Coast. Here to get into our NBA betting picks for the Tuesday schedule and recap what we saw in the association last night. And joining me here to help me break it all down, I got my guy here with me. It's Scott, Studio Reichel. Scott, what's going on, my man? How you doing this Tuesday morning?
Doing pretty well. Pretty fun day in the NBA yesterday. It was Kobe's 18th year anniversary of, I think, 81, and a lot of players lost their minds. Embiid went for 70. Cat had 62. I'll get back to Minnesota in a second. Even Harrison Barnes at 32. So, yeah, a lot of chaos in the NBA yesterday, but pretty fun overall day. A couple close games here and there. But once again, I feel like the main talking points were obviously the high point totals by several players.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it was Kobe's 18-year anniversary of him dropping 81 points against the Toronto Raptors. And, I mean, let's just start there with Joel Embiid. He comes out in the first half with a man possessed. I believe he had 34 in the first half, I believe.
Yep. He had 34, and I think Cat had 44.
Yeah, Cat finished with 44 in the first half. And then Joel Embiid said, "Oh, that's not good enough for me in the first half. Let me go out and score another 36 points in the second half." And he is, or I should say, he finished the game with 70 points for the Philadelphia 76ers in a winning effort against the San Antonio Spurs. But yeah, pretty incredible performance by Joel Embiid, who, I mean, when he's playing and healthy this season, he's looked like I don't want to say the front runner because there's three guys that have odds less than 3-1, but he's making a solid case. I'll say that much. But another incredible performance, one for the history books for sure, at least for Joel Embiid last night here, Scott.
Yeah, and most importantly, they won the game.
Yeah,
can't say the same about the guy who had the second most points last night. But yeah, Embiid would probably be my vote for MVP right now. I think 100%. That even though Jokic is the best player in the world, in my opinion, Embiid has done his best to narrow the gap. Now, of course, it's not going to matter until he does something in the playoffs. We're aware of that, but it's a regular season award. He won it last year, and based on what Embiid's doing, assuming he reaches the game's criteria for games played, he should win the award. I mean, he's been averaging, like 40-plus points in the last 2 months? It's stupid. Like, he should be winning the award. So we'll see what happens. I know Embiid's knee has given him some issues recently. We know, once again, that Nurse is going to keep an eye out for it because he has to stay healthy for the playoffs. Nobody's really going to care about the big numbers in the grand scheme of things until he gets out of the second round. But for the sake of a regular season award, he probably should be the favorite to win the award.
37 minutes last night, 24 of 41 from the floor, 1 of 2 from three-point land, 21 of 23 from the free throw line. Also finished with 18 rebounds and 5 assists in the game. So, yeah, in a winning effort, like you mentioned there, Scott, 133, 123 over the San Antonio Spurs. And the other guy, I mean, we talked about it earlier here, Karl Anthony Towns had 44 points in the first half, but I don't think any of that would matter because they went on to lose the game against one of the worst teams in the association on their home floor against the Charlotte Hornets by the final score of 128-125. As great as Karl Anthony Towns was last night, and he was incredible while he's scoring the basketball, 21 of 35 from the floor, 10 of 15 from three-point land, 10 of 14 from the free throw line. But when you allow the Charlotte Hornets to come onto your home floor, where Minnesota is one of the best defensive teams, at least at home this season, to drop 128 points on you, I think that is very much concerning. But I don't think the points really matter when it's a losing effort. But again, a career high for Karl Anthony Towns last night, 62 for the Minnesota Timberwolves here, Scott.
Cat is the first player I've ever seen in an NBA game get benched halfway through the fourth quarter with 60-plus points. It wasn't even because he was tired. He got benched. He just got flat out benched because he was horrible down the stretch. And Finch kind of called him out. He called out the team. You can make an argument, points are points, but you got to win the game. And Finch basically said that they were points hunting for Cat instead of actually trying to win the game. And they ended up losing. Cat, once again, I don't know how he scored 44 in the first half. I didn't watch the first half. I was watching Embiid. And then I looked over. It's like, oh, yeah, Cat's got 44 at halftime. I'm like, wait, what happened? And he just made like 9 threes in the first half. Yeah. I watched the second half. I thought he was terrible. I thought he was objectively bad in the last 12-plus minutes of that game. He couldn't guard anybody. That's why Charlotte scored, 128 points. That's why he got benched, because in addition to forcing up bad shots, he couldn't guard anybody. So Finch looked at him and said, get off the floor. Like, we might lose this game. I can't use you. And then they had to go back to him eventually because they realized they needed the scoring. And Edwards either didn't have it yesterday or he was so passive because Cat was on a roll that it just took him too long to actually get going. And at that point, Ant never could. But you're watching Ant down the stretch of that game, and he went 2 for 10 field goal in the fourth quarter. He had the turnover late, which, yes, it was a foul. I don't care. LaMelo got fouled 2 possessions prior. They didn't call it either. It should have been a shooting foul too when Anderson got the strip. So that cancels out. So I don't feel bad for Minnesota at all. I thought LaMelo got fouled, and it was basically the same situation. They didn't call it. But the point is, Cat had the turnover late, airballed the miracle 3 at the end, 2 of 10 from the floor in the fourth quarter. Look, if you're going to score 88, if you're going to score 62 points, can you not turn the ball over 8 times? Like, I'm just saying. Like,
that's what jumped out to me.
So bad in that fourth quarter. And I feel like, once again, I'm not going to fully dismiss everything he did in the first 3 quarters. He had 62. Like, it's incredible. He had 44 at the half, which is absolutely insane. But I have to at least point out that I've called Minnesota frauds for about a month at this point. And this is the problem that I have, because even when Cat has a great offensive game, he's still a liability defensively, and he's still going to make dumb decisions late in games. And that's just the issue that I have with him as a player in general. I don't think he could be the second best player on a title team. And I think, once again, is a very solid player. I think he's a tad overrated at this stage in his career. Like, I recognize the trajectory, but if you look at where he's at right now, do you think he deserves, like, all of the praise he's gotten so far? Because you hear the comparisons, the similarities in film to Kobe and to Jordan. Can we let him, like, make deeper runs in the playoffs before we start crowning him to be the number 1 player on a title team?
Can we get him to the playoffs first, past the first round, before we even talk about that? Or even...
The one time he was in the playoffs, he had a couple of really good games against Memphis, and they blew basically every game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
That was the story of that entire series, and I haven't seen any changes. But I'm not going to fully criticize Ant. He's still young. I get it. I think Towns, once again, had a great game, but I have issues with the rest of his game, especially late. I've criticized Minnesota's late offense for the entire season, and that was an issue once again last night. I just feel like it's pretty straightforward to me. This team isn't good enough. And you can argue that they are, and I'm going to disagree with you, because Finch late in games either doesn't know how to get the guys going late, or they don't have enough shot creators, or both. And it might be both. I'm not sure if Finch is actually a good coach or not. I mean, defensively, they're very good. I get it. Gobert can't do anything with the basketball offensively unless he's under the rim. That's the only thing he can do. Conley's a spot-up three-point shooter at this point. That's basically what he is.
Yeah.
Anderson shoots in slow motion. He's a talented role player, but I don't know if he can actually, help stretch a floor. I've said it several times, but the fact that a player drops 62 and gets benched midway through the fourth quarter tells you that maybe he's not the right guy to be a number 2 on a series contending team. Just saying.
Yeah, I think there's only 2 guys on this roster that or maybe even just one primary guy that can create his own shot, and that is Anthony Edwards, right?
And Naz Reid, I'm not going to count because he can't play in the final 5 if you're paying Cat and Gobert that much money. So even Reid, you can't physically use him late in games. So once again, have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen a guy get benched halfway through the fourth quarter in a close game with 60+ points? I've never seen it in my life.
Never seen it. Never seen it either. But yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, I went back and looked at the box scores for both Joel Embiid and Cat last night after performances, and the first thing that jumped out to me was Karl Anthony Towns and the turnovers that he had last night. 7 turnovers. I mean,
it was 8. I thought it was 8.
I mean, what I'm looking at, it might have been 7 or 8, but nonetheless, right? I mean, the team had 13 turnovers as a team last night, and when you're responsible for more than half of those turnovers, I think that kind of speaks volumes to me. But I don't know if he was just going out there thinking it was his night, trying to be Michael Jordan in that fourth quarter or the second half, but it cost his team the victory last night. And I think from a team perspective and a coaching perspective, like, I don't care if you went out and put up 62 points and you lost the game, like, those 62 points don't matter to me. I think what's more alarming is, like, you gave up 128 points to the Charlotte Hornets as well, because defensively, like you mentioned, Karl Anthony Towns cannot guard anybody. I know Anthony Edwards has been dealing with an illness as well. I'm not going to make excuses for him, and he was probably passive to Cat because he was having just a great shooting night, at least in the first half. He finished the game with 11 assists. He did. But again, when it gets down to the crunch time, like, I don't want anybody handling the ball other than Anthony Edwards, because he's that one player that can create his own shot, can knock down a shot from any point of the floor, and he can get to the free throw line. But I mean, that just didn't happen from last night. So,
I mean, I'm just going to ask you, though, the last 2 possessions, I get that Cat had a 40-footer to tie the game. He airballed, whatever. It's a 40-footer. Like that, you're screwed at that point.
Yeah.
Cat gets the ball. He drives to the lane, tries to go 1-on-4. Yes, I know there was a foul. He tried to go 1-on-4. Did any part of you or anybody in the chat, when you were trying to watch that game live, did any part of you think something good was going to happen from that possession? As soon as he touched the ball from the top of the key, did any of you think that this ball was going in the hoop?
He was just trying to play hero ball. He was playing hero ball. That's just what it was.
He went 1-on-4, but I'm saying even regardless, like when you saw the ball in his hands late, did you feel good about it?
Nothing good was going to come from that.
Correct. Probably not. From what I've seen in Cat's career, nothing good was going to happen from that.
Yeah.
So that's what I think of him. I mean, I'm not a Cat guy. I just don't have faith in him to make big decisions late, and I don't trust him. So I'm going to put it this way. I've said it about Minnesota. I think they're frauds. I think that it's obvious they're not going to seriously compete for a championship with this core. How shocked would you be on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being totally shocked? How shocked would you be if they lost in the first round? If we had a 1 or a 2 seed Timberwolves team pull a Bucks from last year and lose to a play-in team? Because I would actually not be shocked.
Probably like a 2. So I wouldn't be that shocked.
You wouldn't be shocked at all, basically.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not alone here, because I'm watching this team, and the more I watch them, the less I like them.
Yeah, they're gonna have to make some type of move at the trade deadline. They're gonna have to make some type of move.
The question is, are they going to? They might just look at the record and go, we're good enough.
They're like, it was just one game. Yeah.
I'm just saying. But you think about the play-in right now. Like, I'm gonna ask you, because I know that it's a classic, never count out the Lakers BS thing. But let's say the Lakers get in the play-in, and let's say the Lakers end up advancing. Is this just Grizzlies from last year 2.0? They just show up and just beat you in 6? I'm taking the Lakers in a series against this team in the playoffs. I don't know about you.
Right now, the play-in tournament teams will be Sacramento, Dallas, Lakers, and the Jazz.
Okay, I'm going to ask you this. Dallas versus Minnesota. 7-game series. Who are you taking?
Dallas.
I'm probably taking Dallas. It just is what it is. I trust Luka and Kyrie more late in games.
I think they would beat Sacramento, because Sacramento has been... They've taken a step back this season. I'll say that much. I think the Lakers would beat them, and if it is a Jazz, I think the Jazz would give them a
Jazz.
Yeah, I think they would give them a challenge. The Jazz would, but I think eventually the Minnesota Timberwolves would win.
I think they could beat the Kings, which would be close, but I think they could beat the Kings. So the Kings are flawed too.
Yeah,
and I think they'd beat the Jazz. But I would take Dallas, and I would take the Lakers. The point is, the West is pretty deep, that even the play-in teams can be a threat if they get going. Maybe the Lakers trade D'Lo, make some moves here and there. I know Rozier's off the board. We'll talk about that in a second. That's what I'm kind of saying. Like, Minnesota's a great record, but you're looking at the actual details behind a magnifying glass, and you realize there's a lot of flaws with this team, and I don't really like what I see.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Scott, before we do get into the Terry Rozier trade here, let me tell everyone about Underdog Fantasy. Look, Underdog Fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite fantasy players all season long, whether it's in the NFL, NBA, NHL, college basketball, and college football. Simply pick higher or lower on your favorite players' fantasy stats and cash in. You can win 100x with some spicy plays. We'll put together an Underdog Fantasy entry for tonight's games at the end of the episode, so you can watch along. Maybe make your own picks as well, and maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up with promo code SGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit of up to $100. Again, that's Underdog Fantasy using the promo code NBA SGPN. Hey, help support the NBA Gambling Podcast. We have our own unique deposit bonus code, NBA SGPN. All right, Scott, we did see a trade that came to fruition earlier. Actually, this morning is when we got the news of Terry Rozier. He is headed to South Beach to Miami in exchange for, I think it was Kyle Lowry and a first round pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But I think this was.
It is lottery protected, by the way. It's lottery protected from 2027, but it can become unprotected in 2028.
Okay. What was your reaction when you heard about this trade?
Good for Miami.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're following the Heat, Lowry has been unplayable for the last month and a half. Like, he can't play. It's kind of a weird spot for Lowry because I was critical of him even a couple of years ago, you might remember, when they made the deep playoff runs and they ended up losing in 7 to the Celtics. And then the year after, they ended up making the finals. I've been calling Kyle Lowry washed for like 2+ years. And he was somehow a valuable role player on an NBA Finals team last year. I don't know what happened there. He had 30 in the play-in game, which I still don't comprehend against Atlanta. They lost that game anyway, but Lowry had a great game. And he was very good in the NBA Finals. He was just very, very solid in the NBA Finals against Denver. He was one of the only role players who actually showed up for that series. So I guess he had a little bit left in the tank. But you've been watching him for the last couple of weeks, and Miami can't play him. Like, you're just looking at the numbers. He can't move. He can't move. He can't shoot. So it's really just not a shock. Now, Charlotte took it as a salary dump because Rozier's getting paid a decent amount of money, and they know deep down that, he was going to be on a really bad team because Charlotte sucks, and they were trying to get extra draft capital, and they realized that it wasn't worth paying him all this money. But just to go through Lowry's numbers, I mean, this season he's averaging 8.2 points per game. He's shooting 42.6%, but I got to read off these last couple of games because, I mean, he's been horrible for the last couple of months. And just to read this off, I'll go through January only. January stats, if ESPN has it. I don't think they have it. That kind of sucks. Okay.
For who?
They do.
Lowry?
Okay, so January. He's played 9 games. We'll start there. Actually, he's played 9 games. What if I told you that he's shooting 29.4% from the floor in 24.2 minutes, and he's shooting 16.1% from 3? 24.2 minutes in 9 games in January. He's shooting less than 30% from the floor and less than 17% from 3. He can't play. Like, I mean, that's one of the worst stat lines you've ever heard. Like, if he was not getting paid that much money, he would have been demoted or, like, cut outright a long time ago. So Miami had to get rid of him. Like, I understand he was great for you last year in the playoffs, but you can't just let that fly. Lowry, we know, is just out of gas at this point. It happens. Miami's not afraid of picking up some veterans to try to help the core, but Lowry's not helping anymore. And basketball IQ can only get you so far. But when your numbers are that bad, you have to make a move. And we know Miami's not good enough offensively, especially with Butler, who constantly misses games, to keep rolling out Lowry there for 24 minutes where you don't have to guard the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're basically playing 4-on-5 offensively every time he's on the floor. So you have to get rid of him. So I'm not surprised the move happened. I'm a little bit surprised that it was between Charlotte. I didn't really know Rozier was on Miami's radar. I'm not shocked. I think Rozier is a very good bench player. I just wasn't expecting two teams in the same division to make that trade. But good trade for Miami. Good trade for Charlotte in general. You save money and you get a draft pick out of it. But Miami did what they had to do. Kyle Lowry was damaged goods, and they had to let him go. Simple as that.
Yeah, it gives them another definitely upgrade at that point guard position. Also gives them another guy that can score the basketball, right? Because we've seen when Terry Rozier was, when LaMelo Ball was out of the lineup for this Charlotte Hornets team, that the scoring load fell on a guy like Terry Rozier. And the Hornets have had other guys being in and out of the lineup, whether it was been Gordon Hayward, whether it was, PJ Washington at times. He was the most consistent guy. Now this gives Miami another definitely guy that comes in. It's definitely an upgrade, like I mentioned, over Kyle Lowry. And it gives you a guy that can score the basketball. If Jimmy Butler is going to, again, be that guy that's going to be missing time in the lineup.
Miami's somehow in first place. I don't know how they're in first place, but they're somehow in first place. The division's terrible. But the point is, they're always a threat to make a run.
Yeah.
Because we know Miami with playoff Jimmy, assuming he stays healthy, and this core, and with Spoelstra, they can beat anybody in a 7-game series. We just know that they can. But, yeah, Lowry was giving them nothing. Once again, just to read off the stats again, in 9 games in January, he's shooting 29.4% from the floor, and he's playing 24-plus minutes. Like, you have to get rid of him at that point. I don't care what your name is. You got to get rid of him.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, again, dominoes keep falling as we approach the trade deadline here in the NBA. We saw Pascal Siakam, and now the latest trade, Terry Rozier headed to Miami for Kyle Lowry and a lottery protected first-round draft pick.
Do you think Charlotte keeps him?
Huh? No, I think they waive him.
Charlotte keeps him?
No, I think they waive him.
There's rumors that they're actually not going to immediately waive him. So actually, I'm curious what Charlotte's philosophy is, unless they just want a veteran leader with an immature locker room.
That was going to be my next point. Yeah,
I don't know what Lowry's even worth, to be honest. I could see the Lakers signing him for the hell of it, but like I don't see what value he'll bring you right now at this point. He's completely cooked. I think you'd agree with that.
Yeah, he's probably good for 15, 20 minutes a night for you at that, like a backup point guard position. But other than that,
even with that, he can't shoot 30%.
Yeah. Somehow he just turns it up in the playoffs for whatever reason. But yeah, maybe a contending team like the Lakers. Not saying it is going to be the Lakers.
Locker room,
like
a high IQ guy, maybe bring him in for like a Udonis Haslem, veteran leader off the bench kind of guy, maybe for morale. But Lowry, he had a great career, but I think it's safe to say it's basically over at this point.
Yeah. All right, Scott. Let's actually get into the games here for tonight in the association 5-game schedule here. Let's get into the first game here. We got the Denver Nuggets. They are headed to Indiana to take on the Pacers. Currently, the line stands at the road team favorite here, the Denver Nuggets, 4.5 points in Indiana with a total of 238.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, Rick Carlisle already came out and said that Hallie is going to be missing at least the next 3 games for injury management for his left hamstring strain, so he will be out for this game. Andrew Nembhard is questionable as well. Isaiah Jackson is questionable as well for this game. For the Denver Nuggets, Aaron Gordon is probable. Michael Porter Jr. is probable as well. And that is pretty much it here. Scott, let's start with the side here. Denver Nuggets -4.5 in Indiana tonight.
Yeah, I think I got to go with Denver. I know this team's not great on the road. It was announced earlier that Halliburton's going to be out for the next 3 games with injury management, so we'll see what happens. They've been, kind of underwhelming without Hallie, but what do you expect? I don't know what else you expected to happen, but they weren't exactly playing that well with Halliburton and Siakam together, or at least Siakam since he joined the team. I think they're 0-2. I'm going to lean to Denver. I just think they're the better team. They're not going to really overthink this. Denver's played good ball recently. Indiana has not. And I just think at the end of the day, Denver has too much size. They're gonna kill them on the glass in this game. Either with Jokic or with Gordon, they can pick with their poison kind of, or whatever they want to do. I'm gonna lean to Denver in the spot. Indiana, they beat Sacramento, which was a solid showing by them. But then after that, they lost to Portland. They lost to Phoenix. They've lost 4 of 5. I really don't want much to do with that team, so I'm just gonna lean to Denver and move on.
Yeah, these 2 teams matched up in Denver back on January 14th. Denver got the victory 117-109 in a game that they didn't have Tyrese Halliburton in that game, but the Denver Nuggets had 3 different guys that had 8 or more rebounds. Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon had 10 rebounds, and then Nikola Jokic finished the game with a near triple-double, 25 points, 12 rebounds, and 9 assists. They had 3 guys, 4 of their 5 starters had 20-plus points. Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, and Nikola Jokic had each 25 points in that game for the Denver Nuggets. Yeah, I'm with you. I think, we talk a lot about with these type of caliber players that come into your roster, like a Pascal Siakam, and now not having Tyrese Halliburton, there's going to be some type of adjustment period where the Denver Nuggets, they have that continuity, they have that chemistry with their starters, right? And I think that this is an opportunity for them to go in here. I know they haven't been very good on the road this season, the Denver Nuggets, but again, just going up against a team that just looks completely different when Hallie's on the floor, especially offensively. So I'll go with the Denver Nuggets here as well, -4.5. What are your thoughts on the total here at 238.5?
It's pretty tricky because I think Denver can score a bunch of points, but Indiana defensively has actually not been terrible recently. They're not good, but they've been okay, and offensively they've had some issues, scoring 110 against Phoenix, scoring 115 against Portland, 105 against Utah. All right. I'll lean to the under in this one. First meeting landed 226. Now Halliburton's out. This total feels too high to me. I'm going to lean to the under.
Yeah, I like the under as well. Like you mentioned, Indiana has been playing better defense and over the last 10 games, and Denver defensively hasn't been too bad either. So I'll try to pull up the numbers here exactly. Here, give me a second for their defensive rating. So
I know they
Denver's
used to be top 10. I'm not sure if they still are.
Yeah, Denver's number 15 right now, at least over the last 5. Indiana is at number 25 here. But again, what's really been the downfall for the Indiana Pacers has been their offensive rating, where they've been all season long one of the better ones. But like when Hallie's out on the floor, obviously this team looks completely different. But I feel like this is a touch too many points here. So yeah, I like the under here as well. We're looking at player props in this game.
For player props, I mean, Jokic triple-double is the first way I'm going to go. You know he's basically going to either get hooked or he's going to go over easily for the triple-double. So Indiana's a great matchup. They can't guard him. They're bad on the boards, and they also give up a ton of points. So I think Jokic is just going to get fed the ball the entire game. He was close against Washington. Then at the end of the day, you ended up seeing Washington kind of hang in there for a bit. Then they got, I don't want to say blown out, but Jokic was able to score a bunch of points, decided to just capitalize on the mismatch because Gafford had no chance in that game. I just think, once again, triple-double for Jokic is pretty simple, but I'll stick with it. Do you believe in the Jamal Murray only showing up for good opponents theory, which has been circulating on Twitter? He's like the opposite of Embiid. I don't want to say Embiid, but he's like the opposite of a front runner. He only plays well against good teams, and he's just bad against bad teams, which has been a thing.
I think so. It might be something with Jamal Murray.
I've seen data to support it. Like I'm not fully against that idea, but anyway, the point is I think Jokic has a big game.
So do we qualify that the Pacers as a bad team then, or a good team?
Without Halliburton, sure. It's not on TV. There's no real stakes involved. Yeah, you can argue that Murray might take the game off.
Yeah, he had 25 in the game earlier, like I mentioned. But that also without Hallie in that lineup. But they might have an advantage matchup, at least against the perimeter defense of the Indiana Pacers. But you mentioned it. It's either Jokic player props, so there's his rebounds and assists to go over, or just playing his triple-double here tonight. Rebounds are at 11.5, but his juice at -160. It's pretty much at 12.5 at probably at even money there. But his triple doubles at +140 as well. You want to get down on that. Aaron Gordon rebounds is something that's intriguing. 6.5 at -125. Like I mentioned, he did have double digits against the Pacers when they matched up in Denver 2 weeks ago. So I don't hate that for Aaron Gordon. But yeah, that's all pretty much I was looking at. Anything else you have for this game, Scott?
No, not really. I think once again it's a Jokic game where he should just dominate. He has had less than 10 assists in 7 of the last 10, but Indiana defensively is just not going to cut it, and they give up a bunch of assists. So I think you're looking at a spot where, I just think that Jokic has a good game.
All right. Before we get up to the next game of the Tuesday night card, let me tell everyone about Cut. Cut is a peer-to-peer social betting platform that's U.S.-based and available in 40 states. Peer-to-peer social betting is a new and better way to bet. Bet directly against your friends or other users on sports, politics, pop culture, and other events with verifiable outcomes, plus a ton of fun of social features that gives it a feel of a betting social network. Cut offers lower VIG and fully customizable odds, and it lets you create your own bets as well. Cut handles the payment side of things, so you never have to chase anyone down for money. Social features include group chats, betting leaderboards, head-to-head history, user profiles, fan groups, and much more. They also have a rewards program, so you can get cash back every single time you bet against your friends or other users. Remember that Cut is the peer-to-peer social betting platform that's US-based and legal in 40 states. Head to cut.com, that's KUTT.com, and use promo code SGPN for a 10% deposit bonus. And we're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets, a sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bet's revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Sort all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching the Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit joelbets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. And we're also brought to you by the SGPN merch store. 15% off of everything in the store now to the end of the month using promo code playoffs. Hey, we're competing against other shows for a bonus, so make sure you go over there and use promo code playoffs. And there's a lot of great NBA gambling podcast gear out there. If you don't want NBA gambling podcast specific items, there are also some great sports gambling podcast network or SGP stuff, coffee mugs, helmets, t-shirts, anything. I mean, go to this merch store, check it out yourself. 15% off of everything in the store now to the end of the month by using promo code playoffs. All right, Scott, let's keep it rolling here, my man. Next game on the board here, we got the New York Knicks. They are going, I guess, down the road, I should say, maybe, to Brooklyn to take on the Nets. Well, the Knicks are currently a 4.5-point road favorite here with a total of 223. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, only Isaiah Hartenstein is questionable for this game. For the Brooklyn Nets, Day'Ron Sharpe is out for this game, and that is pretty much it. Let's start with the side here. Scott, minus 4.5 in favor of the Knicks in Brooklyn to take on the Nets.
Yeah, I'm on the Knicks in this game. I'm not going to spend much time on it. Of course, I'd rather have a Hardenstein in the lineup because he's been incredible for this team.
Yeah.
If he's out, then you're probably looking at a Chua, who I don't think is very good, but I think he can get the job done in this game. But I do think you're looking at the Knicks just being a better overall roster. They've been really good. I think they've won, I think it's 9 of 11, I think, or 10 of 12. I have the stats in front of me. I got to just pull it up. The Nets have been horrible, though. Nets have lost 10 of 12. They were really good for about a game and a half against the Lakers and the Clippers. Then they gave up a 22-0 run to end the game. But the Knicks have won 9 of 11. The Nets have lost 10 of 12. I mean, do I need to really say more? They're my favorite team. They're not very good. I mean, Bridges has been underwhelming recently. Thomas, is a good scorer, but he doesn't really guard anybody. And Jacques Vaughn doesn't seem to like him because he doesn't guard anybody. So he's still coming off the bench. Dinwiddie is picking and choosing when he wants to play. Usually he's not going to try, so we'll see what happens with him. But yeah, I think it's a home game for the Knicks. I mean, the Knicks run New York. I think they're going to have the majority of the crowd advantage in this game, so home court doesn't really matter for this matchup. The Knicks have won each of the last 3 meetings by 18+ points. Yeah, they won the first meeting by 19, and with Anunoby, this team's been incredible. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Knicks. I'm not going to overthink it. Of course, I feel a lot better about it if Hardenstein plays, so we'll see what happens. I think he's probably going to sit, but we'll see. I'm still going to lean to the Knicks, though. I just think the Nets are a bad team.
I don't understand why this is only 4.5. I thought this line would be a lot bigger, just because how well Knicks are playing and how bad, like you mentioned, the Nets have been. I mean, you mentioned it, right? 18.
It is 5 in most spots, to be fair. It opened up at 3.5. Now it's mostly 5. But
I mean, you mentioned the last 3 matchups, the Knicks have just absolutely dominated the Nets, right? They won by 18+ points in 3 straight matchups, 3-0 straight up, 3-0 against the spread. And defensively, like you mentioned, since they got LG Anunoby, they've been really good. Have the New York Knicks, their second best defensive rated team, only behind the Cleveland Cavaliers. And offensively, like we mentioned, when you have Jalen Brunson, who's been an absolute tear. I know we'll talk about player props here in a minute, but I like the better team here. I think that, like you mentioned, 2 teams are going in opposite directions here. I'll take the New York Knicks here. Minus I guess the updated number right now is -5 here. Any thoughts on the total here, Scott?
It's tricky because I don't think the Nets can score, but if Hardenstein's out, the defense might be worse. I guess I'm going to lean over. I just hope the Knicks score 120, I guess. Like, it can really go either way. I'll lean over, but I don't feel great about it.
I think the pivot may be just taking a team total under for the Brooklyn Nets. But I think I would lean towards the under. You take a look at the last 3 matchups that New York Knicks have gotten whatever they want offensively. 124, 142, 121, and that's all been in regulation. So, I'll lean under, maybe a Knicks team total over the Nets team total under in this game. Player props, what are you looking at?
Well, I know that if we're assuming that Hardenstein's not going to play, then just give me Randall rebounds in this game. Josh Hart rebound is probably worth a look too, but the Nets can't rebound, and you're looking at a lot of opportunities now that Hartenstein, who if he does play, might walk into 15 rebounds in this game. So that's a lot of
Yeah.
extra opportunities available. So I don't mind a Randall double-double. I know he had a triple-double recently. I think Hart can have a big game too. Maybe Hart double-double is a pretty sneaky play here. But I do think the rebounds are worth consideration for the Knicks. I'll look there. Offensively, I mean, the Nets can't guard Brunson, so I think Brunson has a good game too. But I'll lean to Dinwiddie unders just because I don't trust his effort level game in, game out. But I think it's mostly rebounds here. With Hartenstein probably not going to play, I just think there's a lot of opportunities to be had.
Brunson has scored 30-plus points in 4 straight games. He's had 41 against the Wizards, and then he had 38 against the Toronto Raptors. In the last game, the assists have been there for him as well. He's had at least 7 assists in 5 straight games. He's had 8 assists in 3 of the last 4 games. I mean, he's a hot hand right now, so I think that's probably the guy you want to bet on right now as far as player props. I'm going to wait, like you mentioned, if Isaiah Hartenstein does not play in this game, you're automatically going to be looking at Julius Randle rebounds or even Josh Hart rebounds. Hart has been, like you mentioned, he's been a really good rebound the basketball as well for this Knicks team. So I'm going to wait and see the status of Isaiah Hartenstein in this game before I do pull the plug on some rebounding props here for either Julius Randle or Josh Hart. Yeah, I didn't have anything for the Brooklyn side. It's just always a crapshoot. I'm trying to figure out who's going to be the guy for them every single night.
You assume it's going to be either Bridges or Thomas based on volume, but like that's basically it.
Yeah. I want to see what Bridges has done over the past couple games. I know he had a really good game against the
he's been up and down. He wasn't very good against the Lakers. I believe he was good against the Clippers. But the Lakers, he was not great. But I think he's been underwhelming.
Yeah, I think that's the correct way to put it. Against the Knicks earlier this season in that game, he only had 15 points in that game. But yeah, pretty underwhelming. I think that's the correct way to put it for Mikal Bridges. All right. Let's get over to the next game here, Scott. We got the Portland Trailblazers. They are in OKC to take on the Thunder. Thunder are currently a 13.5-point home favorite here with a total of 233.5. Looking at the injury report here. For the Blazers, Moses Brown is going to be out. Shaedon Sharpe is out as well. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, pretty clean injury report. Everybody is a go in this game. Thunder laying 13.5 here, hosting the Portland Trailblazers. Scott, what do you think about this?
I'm not taking Portland. Like, I want to make a case for it, but I can't. The last time these two teams played, you remember what happened?
Well, what happened?
Blazers OKC won by 62 points.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The first time they played, OKC won by 43, which means that the Thunder in the 2 meetings this season are beating the Trailblazers by basically an average of 50 points. I'm not going to take Portland. I'm just not going to do it. I just think that Portland, once again, if you're losing to this team by an average of 50, maybe you shouldn't show up to the arena. Like, I'm just going to lean to OKC. I just don't think this team can match up with them. Give me OKC.
Yeah, OKC at home. I mean, like we talked about, right? They've been really good at home this season. Trying to pull up the exact ATS numbers for the Thunder at home. So 16-5 straight up, 16-5 against the spread. So if you think they're winning the game, they're pretty much going to cover. And I believe they've won, I want to say 6 straight against the Blazers, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, you mentioned the 2 prior matchups against the Trailblazers, where they just absolutely dominated them. But yeah, so this season they've won by a total of 43 and 62. But prior to that, they've won 10 straight games against the Portland Trailblazers. In that span, they're 9-1 against the spread against the Portland Trailblazers. So again, last 10 matchups since the 2021 season, the Thunder are 10-0 straight up against the Portland Trailblazers and 9-1 against the spread. So yeah, I'll lean here with the Thunder here as well. Total is sitting at 233.5 here. Scott, what do you think?
I mean, I think the Thunder might score 140, but like the question is, can Portland score? In the 2 meetings this season, they scored 91 in the first meeting, and they scored 77 in the second meeting. Now, Portland was battling some injuries, so maybe they can, get some scoring since they're a bit healthier, but I guess I'm going to lean to the over. because I'm just penciling OKC to find a way to score 130 basically no matter what. So I guess I'm just going to lean to the over and hope for the best. But, I mean, Portland could single-handedly sabotage this thing, but I'm going to lean to the over.
Yeah, I mean, I think remember I should take like a Thunder team total over, right?
Yeah.
Everything like Thunder going to do a majority of the scoring. Last 4 meetings, 138, 118, 134, and 139. So they've scored 134 plus points in 3 out of the last 4 matchups against the Portland Trailblazers. So I think Thunder team total over here is probably a good look, at least as far as the total play. Player props here, Scott. It is a 13.5 point spread here, and the Thunder do also play tomorrow night. So maybe if they take care of business early, they probably sit some of their starters here. But any player props you're looking at?
Well, that's the problem, is because everybody I'm tempted by, they might not play the fourth quarter of the game. So I don't really know where I'm supposed to go with this one. I guess I'm going to lean to Holmgren under his PRA. I know Holmgren is still the favorite to win Rookie of the Year, but he probably shouldn't be based on how good Wemby's been the last couple of weeks. But you're going through Chet's number in this matchup, and his PRA is at 27.5. He's gone under in 6 straight. He's gone under in 8 of 10. And if you want to even go back further, yeah, he has gone under in. Is that 8 of 10, or does that go back even further? I think it's 8 of 10. So
Chet.
It's a 9. It's actually 9 of 11. He's gone under this number. And in the first 2 meetings of the season, he had 26. Andy had 22. Once again, garbage time was definitely helped the under because he didn't play the fourth quarter. But I'm going to go to Holmgren under. You go under in 8 of 10, and you might not play the fourth quarter. I feel like unders are the way to go for this game. A lot of people are probably going to take the random overs because in order to actually get up by a lot of points, you got to drop 120 anyway. But I'm just concerned about the minutes. So I'm going to use it to my advantage. I'll go with the under for Chet PRA.
Yeah, looking at SGA's assists in this game, Portland are allowing the most assists to the point guard position. It's at 5.5 at minus 150, pretty much at 6.5, or maybe a Josh Giddey assist prop in this game. But I mean, like you mentioned, because if this does turn into a blowout, and the Thunder have a game tomorrow against the Spurs tomorrow, I mean, they're probably going to end up sitting some of their guys in this game if it does turn into a blowout. So didn't want to touch either one of at least for the Thunder. Portland, I mean, you mentioned that they were missing guys in those 2 games when they did get blown out. Jeremy Grant has been pretty solid for this Blazers team. Maybe Malcolm Brogdon, I think, is a good look as well. He's also been getting the minutes for this Blazers team. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Again, with this double-digit spread, I'd probably want to stay away from player props. All right.
By the way, it was announced that a little while ago that if Hardenstein does not play, Jericho Sims will get the start. It wouldn't be Achua. It would be Jericho Sims.
Okay.
Well, I forgot it's still in the NBA, but he'd be getting the start.
All right, next game on the board here, we got the Utah Jazz. They are traveling to New Orleans to take on the Pelicans. Pelicans currently sitting as a 6.5 point favorite in this game with a total of 239.5. Looking at the injury report, let's start here with the Utah Jazz. Predicting injury report is just guys that are on 2-way deals or on assignment. For the Pelicans, pretty clean injury report for them as well. Only Matt Ryan is on there, who's dealing with a right elbow surgery. But 2 healthy squads here. Scott, start with the side. Pelicans minus 6.5 over the Utah Jazz.
It's a very, very tricky spot because Utah, we know, has been great for the last month or so ATS. They made us a lot of money. Having said that, our team's starting to figure them out a little bit. I wonder how much of it is Utah actually being good and how much of it was, well, Utah sucks. It's a free win on the schedule, but they kept underestimating the same team over and over again, and Utah kept sneaking up on them. They did lose back-to-back games. They lost at Houston in overtime. That's not bad. And they lost to OKC by 5 at home. That's not bad either. So I personally think that that is not the case. I think Utah is actually good at basketball, and I think people are waiting for the regression to happen with this team. And I think they're good enough to actually hold on. Are they going to make the playoffs? I didn't say that, but I think they're good enough to actually remain in contention, and I think they're good enough to not blow up the roster, which we thought they would be doing by the trade deadline. But looking at the 3 meetings this season, they've been competitive against New Orleans. They lost by actually, they're 2-1. They won the 2 games at home, and they lost the 1 game in late December in New Orleans by 7. They've been competitive. That's good enough for me. New Orleans, we saw have a massive opportunity to kind of prove themselves last time out, and they got blown up by Phoenix at home. So New Orleans, once again, is a team that we keep waiting to make the permanent leap into being a serious threat. And every time they do, they stumble. So maybe it's a bounce back spot, maybe it's not, but Utah's been good against this team. They've covered this line in 2 of the 3. The other one they lost by a hook if you're using this number. I'm going to lean to Utah. I think 6.5 is too many. I just don't trust New Orleans enough. I was hoping they'd show me something against Phoenix, and they no-showed the entire game. Give me Utah plus the points.
Yeah, I know the Jazz got off to an atrocious start on the road this season. But you take a look at their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 road games. They're actually 5-3 straight up and 7-1 against the spread in those last 8 road games. So, and like I mentioned, like when this squad is healthy, they look like a really good team. I mean, dare I say, a playoff team. I mean, Colin Sexton's been playing out of his mind. Lauri Markkanen, Jordan Clarkson. Again, give a lot of credit to their head coach, Will Hardy. He's just been able to figure out these rotations and put guys in the right spots as well. So, and they compete, right? They're feisty. So, I'll lean with the Jazz here as well, plus 6.5 against the Pelicans. Pelicans, I've seen the story so many times this season. I think we've talked about it as well, that they're great in the first half. They'll cover that first half spread, and they'll let teams bat into the game in the second half. And they'll probably go out to lose the game outright in that second half when they do have a lead at the half. So if you want to play the Pelicans, I'll probably look at them in the first half. And then I think the full game, I'm with you, Scott. I think I like the Jazz here, plus 6.5. Total's at 239.5. Any thoughts on that?
I think people are going to blindly take the over, but I actually kind of like the under in this game. The 3 games of the season haven't been close to this number. Now, I got to see how many games Zion played in because I know he missed the first one, and he was in the second one. I think he played the third one too. I think he did. So Zion played the last 2 games, but each of the first 3 meetings landed below 227, and this total's around 240. I'm going to lean to the under. This total just feels too high to me based on what we've seen so far in the previous meetings. So I'm going to lean to the under. And I think New Orleans is still a good defensive team. So I'll lean to the under in this spot.
Yeah, I can see that. On the road.
I mean, I understand the over arguments because Utah's been in a lot of high-scoring games, whatever. But when you've had 3 separate meetings that are not even close to this number, I'm probably just going to assume the same story happened. So I'm gonna lean to the under.
Yeah, I didn't really have much of an opinion on this total here. But like you mentioned, this is already the 4th meeting this season. It's crazy. So they've scored 205, 226, and 217 in those 3 games this season. So
you need 240 though? Like that's massive.
Yeah. So I'll lean towards the under just based on the head-to-head history here as well. Player props, Scott, what are you looking at?
Well, if you're gonna go with Utah, then and you think they keep the game close, then don't you have to consider automatically going to either Sexton or you're gonna go with Lauri? Just play it relatively safe or at least simple. I don't know why I wouldn't go back to Sexton at this point. Do we know if Chris Dunn is actually healthy for this game?
He's not. I think
he is, but I believe he got banged up last game. Right?
Yeah,
that was 2 games ago. He played against Houston. My bad.
Yeah, he played against Houston. I remember because he got in a little scuffle with Jabari in that game, but he's not on the injury report right now. So maybe his minutes have diminished a little bit, but
he played 27 minutes against Houston. So no, I take it back. I forgot they played Houston between the OKC game. But for this matchup, I mean, Ingram's point totals at 19.5, which sounds like a gift, but he's gone under in 4 of the last 5, but he's done well against Utah. So if you like the matchup, maybe. Lauri rebounds at 8.5. Somebody's going to have to rebound the ball in this game for Utah. He's gone over in each of the last 5, gone over in 8 of the last 10. He's done well rebounding against New Orleans, so I probably would like Lauri rebounds in this game at 8.5. Besides that, I see Sexton assists at 4.5. He's gone over in 5 straight, gone over in 7 of 10. Why would I not be tempted by Sexton props in this game?
Yeah, so I mean, I mentioned Colin Sexton earlier. He's been on an absolute tear for this team. Last 5 games, he's averaging 27.2 points. He's had at least 27 points in 4 straight games. He's had 20 plus points. And let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 7 out of the last 8 games. His points prop right now is at 20.5. And like you mentioned, if you want to play his points and assists to go over, or just his points or his assists to go over. I don't hate that. Zion has actually done pretty well against his Jazz team as well. His points prop is at 24.5. But in his career against the Utah Jazz, he's averaging 25.2 points per game. But over the last 8 games, he scored 32, 27, 26, 25, 26, 31, 26. And the last game, he did have only 21. So I think it's a good matchup for him based off of just his head-to-head history against the Utah Jazz. It is at 24.5, a little bit juiced, but I don't hate that for Zion in this game either.
The Zion stats are tricky, though, because Ingram was out for, I think, a meeting or two.
That's true.
There, so there was some inflated numbers. But Ingram is just, I don't know what he's doing. What is he, the third option now? Like, he's acting like it? You go under 20 and 4 or 5? Come on, Ingram. You gotta be at least a bit more aggressive.
I'm starting to wonder if they like they make a trade, or do you think they keep this? Yeah, do they keep this team intact?
I mean, you could add them to the list of teams I've been saying should have blown up the roster about a year or two ago. There's a lot of teams like that in the league, and some of them actually started to do it. Shout out to Toronto, but still, I don't think Zion and Ingram work together. I've gone on record saying this. The problem is that New Orleans is good enough where you can make the argument, well, we haven't seen Zion in a playoff series yet, so if he stays healthy, then maybe we'll figure it out. They have a certain ceiling. Ingram has always been and will always be a ball-dominant guy, for better or worse. I know occasionally it's a triple-double, might have some assists, but for the most part, he's trying to shoot. There's a reason why people compared him to Durant when he was starting out. And even though he'll never be Durant, obviously, it's because he was a lengthy forward who can shoot the ball and nobody can block him because he's 7 feet tall. I mean, it's basically what Brandon Ingram is. Now, I don't think that he is a black hole per se. Does he make his teammates better? No. Does Zion make his teammates better? He can when he's actually engaged. It's a big if. But when he's engaged, I do like his playmaking ability more than Ingram's. And then you have McCollum in there, who I think is fine. Like I don't think McCollum's that special. So I would make some changes. Are they going to? No. I think New Orleans record-wise is fine where they are, and they're going to believe in the, well, let's see what Zion can do in a playoff series. It's not going to work out for them, but they're going to see what happens with Zion in a playoff series since they just paid him a lot of money before they make any moves. I'm assuming you agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like CJ's probably headed to that trajectory of where Kyle Lowry is now.
He's a long way away from that. Lowry should be out of the league at this point, but he's definitely not the guy he used to be. McCollum, you can always argue, was never exactly a winning basketball player. That's a separate conversation. He had the big game 7 against Denver with the chase down block. You know, he had that game, and he's had a couple playoff moments with Dame, and they did make a Western Conference Finals. But McCollum's always also been a shoot-first guy. And you're looking at 3 shoot-first guys as the main piece of your offense. Murphy's also a shoot-first guy. He's a catch-and-shoot guy, but still, I don't think they have enough selfless players on the team. McCollum's trying to sacrifice, and he's trying to be a bit more of a playmaker, but that's not who he is. He just wants to shoot the ball a lot.
Yeah.
They really could use a true point guard. Like, they don't have one. McCollum's been kind of converted into a point guard, but I don't think that works. I really think they need a floor general on the team. Like, I'm trying to think of a good guy that they can get. Like, I'm trying to think of the actual market of who would be a good fit for them. And I'm going to have to think about that. But I just don't think McCollum and the core are good enough to actually make any noise whatsoever in the playoffs. But according to the front office's mind, they're going to wait and see if Zion in a playoff series can maybe make it interesting. It's not going to, but they're in too deep at this point. They're just going to see what happens.
Yeah. All right, let's get over to the last game of the night here. Battle of LA. We've got the LA Lakers and the Clippers. It'll be technically a Clippers home game in this game. The Clippers are a 9-point favorite in this game.
That's what they should go for. Tyus Jones. New Orleans should go for Tyus Jones.
Yeah, that's a great point.
That's who I would go for if I was New Orleans.
Clippers 9-point favorite here with a total of 233.5. Looking at the injury report for the Clippers, LeBron is going to be out for this game. He has a left ankle injury. Anthony Davis is probable. Jared Vanderbilt is probable. And for the Clippers, Zubac is going to be out for this game. So no LeBron here tonight for the Lakers. Clippers laying 9 points here, hosting the Clippers laying 9 points here, hosting the Lakers. Scott, let's start with the side here. What are you thinking?
A part of me feels like the Lakers keep this game interesting for a bit, but without LeBron, no. I'm going to go with the Clippers, simply put. Props to LeBron. He got the team back to 500, and now he's sitting out a game. So we're back to the seesaw, I guess, of trying to battle yourself over 500. But yeah, the Clippers are the better team. The Lakers pulled off the win last time out in a game that was kind of weird because Kawhi got like pseudo benched in the fourth quarter, which I still don't really understand what happened there with Ty Lue, but that game came down the stretch and that game was close. But simply put, the Clippers are a very good basketball team. The Lakers are not. And with LeBron being out, I mean, how many points do you need from, let's say, AD and D'Lo? Maybe you can throw in Reeves, but Reeves has kind of been a mess this season because he can't guard anyone. D'Lo and AD, how many points do they actually need to score in order to cover this 9.5?
60.
Like 60, 55. That's kind of what I was thinking. I'll take my chances. I'll lean to the Clippers in the spot.
Also a revenge spot here for the Clippers, right? Because the Lakers did in fact beat them in the last
hideous game,
matchup.
but the Lakers pulled that off.
And again, like we mentioned, the Clippers are just playing absolutely great basketball right now. So I think that, like you said, maybe the Lakers early on keep it interesting, but I think at the end of the day, when you have James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and the depth that is on this team, I think that eventually they will pull away and get a double-digit victory here against the Lakers. Again, this team looks completely different, obviously, without one of your best players, not your best player in LeBron James, not on the floor here. So, Clippers for me here as well. Total Scott 233.5. Any thoughts on that?
It's tough to really consider an over if LeBron's not playing because we know the Lakers aren't exactly a good offensive team. The Clippers could score 130, and we'll see what happens. Do the Lakers play faster without LeBron or slower?
I can look that up right now. Let's see. I would assume they play slower just because we've seen LeBron. Like, he's a guy that can get up and down the floor.
I'm assuming so as well, but I'm just asking because the first game was a rock fight, which is why I just want confirmation on that. Because I think I'm leaning under, but I just wanted to get confirmation.
Lakers pace with and without LeBron James. Let's just do it from last season because
I don't know how many. I think LeBron's played a decent amount of games this year. I don't think he's missed much.
So with him, it's not much of a difference. So they have a pace of this since the 2021. Let me just do this season. Let's see. All right. So this season, LeBron has missed only 4 games. So without LeBron on the floor, they have a pace of 103.85. With him, 99.64. So they're playing faster without LeBron on the floor.
I'm going to lean to the over. That's really all I needed to hear. I'll lean to the over.
All right. I think a Clippers team total over for me would be a play here. I know historically, like when these two teams match up, it's not really higher scoring, but this Clippers offense has just been very, very efficient since they've kind of figured it out with James Harden and since that trade that they did make for him. So they did score the first game back on November 1st. One was 130-125. We talked about how the second matchup on January 7th was a kind of a rock fight, 106-103, where the Lakers did get the victory there. So I think Clippers team total for me in this game would be a look on the over. Player props, Scott, anything you're looking at?
Yeah, I feel like once again with the Clippers, you can make an argument of who you think's gonna have a good game. Maybe Paul George bounces back, Kawhi, etc. For the Lakers, I'm actually really tempted by D'Lo. I don't know if he knows he's getting traded. I don't know what the story is, but he's been really good for the last couple weeks. And with LeBron being out of the game, I don't think D'Lo needs an excuse to shoot the ball more, but he's going to shoot more. So I'm going to go with D'Lo. I think he's in line for once again a big volume game, which is all you kind of need. You'll pick your poison there if he can actually hit shots or not, but you got to live with the risk in that spot. But with AD, once again, you could probably go back to him. But I am wondering how the Clippers are going to guard him. I'm curious if they're going to let AD go nuts or if they're going to actually try to send doubles and see what happens because Mason Plumlee can't guard him, but we'll see what they do. But I don't really know what you think they're going to do defensively, but I definitely can see D'Lo jacking up a bunch of shots in this game. And D'Lo's points in this game, D'Lo's points are a 19.5. That's so low with no LeBron.
Yeah, I
Like,
think that
I have to go with the over on D'Lo. He's gone over in 4 of 5. The volume's been there. He's been solid, and he might try to go toe-to-toe against 4 guys because D'Lo is the irrational confidence guy. But last 3 games, 29, 20, and 34. I mean, yeah, I probably will go D'Lo over. I think 19.5 is too low.
so when he goes like 3 of 15 tonight, and you're gonna come back here tomorrow, and then just cuss him out because he
Yeah, he
hadn't
might,
really
but if he goes
improved
8 of
his
20, he's probably going over anyway because he's going
yeah,
to the line a
100%.
couple times. So
Yeah.
I'll take a risk of him going like 8 of 20 and still going over.
Yeah, and a lot of his shots also come from beyond the arc as well. And he's been, I think, over the last 5 games, very efficient from the 3-point line, shooting at 53.7% for the Lakers. And like you mentioned, 20 plus points in for the last 5 games, 29 plus in 3 of the last 5, averaging 27.2 points in the last 5 games for the Lakers. So yeah, that's a good look. Hard assist is always on the table if you want to play his double-double. I mean, we know he can walk into 10 assists on any given night. He's been really good distributing the basketball. But
Like
that's
Westbrook
pretty
props
much
in
it.
this game. If you think there's a blowout, you think Westbrook might do something?
Yeah, maybe to kind of give it to his former team.
That's the only blowout angle I'm trying to think of is if you want to take a shot with like a Westbrook big game.
Yeah, like so the 2 matchups this season, I think this was before Harden, November 1st. You played 44 minutes, 24 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists. But then the second game, you only played 19 minutes, 7 points, 1 rebound, and 3 assists. So
Probably not.
yeah, probably not. Maybe look at his points depending on what the number is for him. But if one of these guys was injured, I would definitely look at it at that point. But since everybody's healthy, I think that I'd probably stay away from Westbrook in this game.
If you want the bad player that I'm going to jinx into having a good game in this one, Taurean Prince.
You think he's gonna have a good game?
No, I think he's gonna have a bad game, but I'm calling him out, so he's gonna drop 20. But we're gonna see how long this lasts. But yeah, I'm not a Taurean Prince guy. His points are at 10.5. He pretty much only shoots threes, so
Yeah.
I think once again he's in a bad spot. But you know, I said Harrison Barnes wasn't very good, and he had 30, so we'll see what happens. But I think once again, Prince under 10.5 is worth consideration.
All right, that is the last game of the night on the Tuesday card here, Scott. Let's get into our lock and dog, and then we will do our underdog fantasy entry before we wrap up this episode. You want to lead us off?
Yeah. So for this one, for the lock, I mean, I was initially going to consider the Knicks, but with the Hartenstein injury and the lines actually dropped recently to about 4, which is definitely suggesting that Hartenstein's not going to play. I'm not sure if I actually want to take it. There's a 3.5 available, though. I think for this one, I'm going to go to the... I know I want a side. The question is, which one do I want? Because OKC's winning this, has been beating this team by basically an average of 50. But I want to actually see who OKC plays in next. Who does Oklahoma City play after this Trailblazers?
They got San Antonio tomorrow night.
I guess that's not a look at it all.
No.
You know what? Yeah, I think I'm going to do it. Give me OKC. I'll lay the wood here with 13.5. You're winning by 62 and about 40 and change. You're at home. Portland's not any good. I think OKC wins this game comfortably. So I'm going to go with OKC to get the job done there. For my dog, I think I am going to go with a 2-pick same-game parlay. And I was thinking about Jokic triple-double with the Nuggets to win. I know Indiana actually has been decent at preventing assists recently, but
Yeah,
I am wondering defensively how they're going to look with Siakam instead, and they're going to have to try to piece some things together. But I think that Jokic is in line for a massive game. I think Denver's going to win. But to go through the actual price there for Jokic triple-double and the Nuggets to win, plus 235. That's good enough for me. Give me Jokic triple-double and Denver to win at plus 235.
All right. All right, for my lock, I will go with it's either the Clippers team total over or the Thunder. I think I'll go with the Thunder.
You can do both if you want to parlay it.
Yeah, I mean, this Portland defense has been absolutely terrible. I know they're in the front end of a back-to-back, and it's not much of a look-ahead spot for this Thunder team. But again, like we mentioned, the last 3 games that they have just, or even the last 2 games, they've actually just owned this team. They've got whatever they want offensively. So That number right now is at 124.5. I'll take the over on that. I do think that this will see a lot of points being scored, but I think majority of it will come from the Thunder side. So I'll take the team total over 124.5 for the OKC Thunder. For my dog, I'm tempted by
Do you
Utah.
like any money lines, or you want to go prop here?
I think I'm tempted by Utah.
Okay.
At plus 200. Yeah, you know what? Give me the Jazz. Plus 200 on the money line. Puts them on that spread as well, plus 6.5. This seems healthy, and they're playing well, right? I know the early on in the season they weren't very good off on the road, but like I mentioned, last 10 games, 9-1 against the spread, 8-2 straight up on the road. I think they can. Again, we've seen the Pelicans cough up leads in the second half. They played great in the first half, but they give it up in the second half. So I'll take the Utah Jazz here, plus 200 on the money line against the Pelicans. Of course, I'm going to be on that plus 6.5 as well for the Utah Jazz. So, all right, there we go. All right, Scott, let's do our Underdog Fantasy entry before we do get out of here. Again, go to underdogfantasy.com. If you're not already, make sure you use that promo code NBASGPN. You'll get a first deposit bonus of up to $100. Make sure you use that promo code NBASGPN. All right, Scott, where do you want to start?
First of all, apologies. Terrell and I yesterday just straight up forgot to do an underdog lineup. We just completely forgot to do it, so apologies there. My bad. I had people reaching out to me on Twitter. Yeah, where was the underdog? I'm like, oh, whoops. Yeah, we just forgot. So sorry about that. But I'm gonna ask you because my first thought was D'Lo points at 19.5. It just feels too low for a guy who has had an insane amount of volume recently, and he might get even more volume with LeBron being out. So I think D'Lo points is probably where I'm going to start. But I do want to ask. I mean, I'm going to read off the shot volume that he's had for the last couple games, but I'm assuming you're on board. The last couple games for D'Lo: 21 shot attempts, 14 shot attempts, 20 shot attempts, 12 shot attempts, 26. So he's had 20 plus shot attempts in 3 of the last 5. So I like D'Lo points in this one.
Yeah, that number's only going to go up, especially without LeBron. And if it is James Harden guarding D'Angelo Russell, I think good luck with that because we know Harden doesn't play any defense.
He's been better
at all.
with the Clippers, but he's still not a good defensive player.
Yeah. All right, so we'll start with that. We go D'Angelo Russell higher, 19.5 points. You want to do like Randall rebounds?
Sure. What's that?
9.5.
Sure. It seems like Hardenstein's not going to play, and Sims gets into foul trouble every time he does play. So I like the Randall rebounds.
All right, so we'll go higher, 9.5 rebounds on Julius Randle. What else do we like here?
I'm trying to think. Glory rebounds, if you want to.
Yeah,
go with
that's what I was going to.
Somebody's gonna have to rebound for that Utah team.
Yeah, so his rebounds are at 9, and then points and rebounds are at 33.5.
Okay, you have a preference?
I mean, I think he can do both. I think that. I mean, we know the points are going to be.
Oh, wait, you want Jokic with like rebounds or something?
Oh yeah, we forgot about that one because you liked. Yeah, I like Jokic triple double here tonight. Let's go back and.
That's probably spicy, so they might give us a bonus payout.
Yeah, it's 1.25 spicy.
Sure.
All right, we'll throw that in there. All right, so we'll go D'Angelo Russell higher, 19.5 points. Julius Randle higher, 9.5 rebounds, and Nikola Jokic to record a triple double. That correct for 3 for 3 will get us a nice plus 750-ish. So $750 if you put in $100 on that for the entry for tonight. So again, once again, Julius Randle higher 9.5 rebounds, Nikola Jokic to record a triple double, and D'Angelo Russell higher 19.5 points for our Underdog Fantasy entry for tonight for the Tuesday night card. All right, Scott, that's going to wrap it up, my friend, for this edition of the NBA Gambling Podcast. Anything else you want to mention before we get out of here?
Not really. I know that I'll be back again tomorrow with Terrell, also doing the tennis show at some point, probably tomorrow. That's going to be on YouTube now. We officially moved to YouTube, so we got merch as well. So if you do watch the tennis show, we have merch on the merch store. And besides that, I got a AFC title game preview to do with Terrell later in the week. So once again, a lot of podcasts and should be fun.
All right, there we go. Yeah, make sure to tune in with Scott and Terrell tomorrow, as usual, same time, same place. And again, Australian Open going on, so make sure to check out Scott on the Tennis Gambling Podcast. And again, make sure to get over to the merch store. Make sure you use that promo code playoffs for 15% off of all the merchandise on the merch store for the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. All right, guys. Appreciate everybody in the chat. The usual suspects. May I'll make the show entertaining with all the plays that you guys do throw in there. So we're growing a nice community there in the chat as well. So if you already haven't joined us in the chat, we go live around 11 a.m. Eastern every single day, Monday through Friday at least. So come join us in the chat. A lot of good guys there and gals that do join us in the chat there. All right, good luck with your bets here tonight. Let's break these books off and let it ride.